The world's population is approximately 8 billion people. Among them, approximately 2.6 billion are Christians. 1 in 3 people in the world is a Christian. If those who believe in and pray for Jesus receive great grace unconditionally and live well, then 1 out of 3 Christians must live well. But the reality is not like that. I hope you watch this short video on this channel and learn about the secret to receiving God's great grace. Joseph is a representative person in the Bible who received a great deal of God's grace. Joseph's father Jacob loved only Joseph among his many children. Joseph became a bratty child, and the other children hated him. This favoritism inevitably destroys relationships. If you show favoritism at home, your relationship with your children will be ruined. If there is favoritism in society, citizens fight among themselves. Favoritism is a serious thing that blocks God's grace. Anyone who wants to receive great grace must be careful of this favoritism. One day, the brothers left for Shechem to tend the sheep. His father Jacob sent Joseph on an errand to make sure his brothers and sheep were safe. Shechem is a place of sin where Jacob's children harmed the people of Shechem and stole their property due to the incident with Jacob's daughter Dinah. Joseph and his brothers met in the land stained with their sins. When the brothers saw Joseph, they made a plan to kill him. Fortunately, thanks to his brother Judah, Joseph did not die and was sold to an Egyptian merchant. If possible, it is best not to go back to the place where you or your family made a mistake. It is easy for him to commit the same sins he committed before. If he wants to receive great grace, he must be careful of places stained with sin. After being sold, Joseph becomes the household servant of Potiphar, the captain of the Egyptian palace guard. God gave Joseph grace, and Joseph was recognized by Potiphar as a capable man. Joseph became the manager of all affairs and assets of Potiphar's household. Joseph was not only a capable man, but he was also a cool and handsome man. The master's wife tempted Joseph. However, Joseph, who was loyal to his master, rejected the temptation. The owner's wife, in a bad mood, plots against Joseph. Joseph ends up in prison. No matter how talented a person is, if he or she gets caught up in the problem of adultery, he or she will be ruined the moment he or she gets caught up in the problem of adultery. Just because Joseph received God's grace did not mean that he could get away with being caught up in issues between men and women. If he wants to receive great grace, he must be absolutely careful about the issue of sexual relations between men and women. Joseph, who went to prison, was recognized as a capable man by the prison captain. Joseph became the manager of the prison, in charge of all matters and prisoners. One day, Joseph interpreted the dream of a servant who was in prison and helped him. And Joseph asked the servant to help him when the opportunity arises. The servant who received Joseph's help later called Joseph when he needed someone to interpret the king's dreams. Through that man, Joseph received a great opportunity to escape his unfair imprisonment. Joseph helped people with the God-given ability to interpret dreams. And he asked for help too. He didn't just sit in prison and pray. He said that if there is anything he can do, he does it to help those around him. I'm not asking you to sacrifice yourself. Just help to the extent you can. And ask for things you can't do yourself. Don't stand still and show off your pride. When you need help, you must know how to bow your head and ask for it. If you want to receive great grace, help with what you can and ask for favors with what you cannot do. Joseph stood before the king of Egypt to interpret his dreams. Joseph was a man who was recognized as a capable person by everyone around him. However, he lived a difficult life as he was betrayed and falsely accused. There are countless people in this world who have abilities but are unable to fully utilize those abilities and live in difficulties. Joseph finally had a path to success. Joseph says this to the king: "I don't have the ability. God will interpret the dream for you." Joseph is not a man without power. But Joseph humbled himself and spoke humbly. Joseph was well received by the king. If he wants to receive great favor, he should not lose humility when dealing with people. Joseph became the second most powerful person after the king of Egypt. Joseph did not use his power to take revenge on his brothers who tried to kill him, on Potiphar's wife who falsely accused him, and on Potiphar who wrongfully imprisoned him. This is because Joseph did not become crooked despite all his hardships. He guarded his own heart. Living in a contentious family and an unreasonable society, it is very, very difficult for a person to keep his or her heart without becoming distorted. Just because you read a lot of his books doesn't mean your mental strength or your own heart will become stronger. This cannot be accomplished through his own efforts alone. What cannot be done through his own efforts must be prayed for. If he wants to receive great grace, pray that his heart will not be crooked. You should not simply pray to God to make me rich or to make me a man of authority. We must pray that God will help us become people who protect our hearts even in difficult families and unjust societies. Was this video helpful to you? Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. Be sure to subscribe, notify, and like. Continue to receive the secret to receiving great grace from God. I hope that you will be the recipient of the Lord's great grace.